Yesterday, as President Obama addressed the veterans of foreign wars in Phoenix, a man at a pro-healthcare reform rally just outside wore a semi-automatic assault rifle on his shoulder and a pistol on his hip. The Associated Press reports about a dozen people in all at that event were visible carrying firearms. And the reason we're talking about this, a lot of talk here, Dylan, because people feel like, yes, there are Second Amendment rights for sure, but also there are questions about whether this has racial overtones. I mean, here you have a man of color in the presidency and white people showing up with guns strapped to their waists or to their legs.
It sounds simplistic when you put it that way, but it is real that there is tremendous anger in this country about government and the way government seems to be taking over the country, anger about a black person being president, just several upheavals in the country over the last 10 years, from 9/11 to the economic tsunami to the black man becoming president. And, you know, we see these hate groups rising up, and this is definitely part of that. I'm not going to be surprised if we see somebody get a chance and take a chance and really try to hurt him, or really, you know, and I mean, it's up to the Secret Service to make sure that it doesn't actually become history. But, you know, I think we're going to see somebody, you know, some sort of Squeaky Fromm, some sort of Mark Hinckley figure, because there's so much anger in the country about him, about what's going on with government.
Angry at government and racism, you put those two together.
I'm exercising my rights as an American in Arizona. I'm absolutely, totally against healthcare in this way, in this manner, stealing it from people. I don't think that's appropriate.
Tell me about why it was important for you to come out here today.
Well, I come from another state where open carry is legal, but no one does it, so the police don't really know about it, and they harass people, arrest people falsely, and I think that people need to get out and do it more so that they get kind of conditioned to it.
So you're here specifically for open carry or for health?
For open carry, and I also to remind people that a lot of people think we live in a democracy so that we can vote how the minority is going to live, and if we want health care, as long as we get enough people, we'll just take money from you and we'll buy whatever we want, pay for whatever we want. And I just think that it's in America, people have the ability to fight back and to resist, and that's another reason why I'm here.
So we're carrying weapons.
Absolutely.
In Arizona, you see, anyone allowed to have a gun can carry it in public as long as it's visible. And the man who had the semi-automatic rifle slung over his shoulder said he was doing this because it's legal and he thinks others should do it more often. Just what we need. People wandering around with assault rifles slung over their shoulders at events where the President of the United States is present. This is the second time in as many weeks that weapons have been seen near presidential events. In Portsmouth, New Hampshire last week, a protester had a gun strapped to his thigh. Gun rights advocates say they are exercising their constitutional right to bear arms and protest. But critics say it's a disaster waiting to happen. They insist that people should not be allowed to bring guns to an event where the president is, that it only distracts Secret Service and law enforcement who ought to be focused on protecting the nation's chief executive. Secret Service acknowledged the events in Arizona and New Hampshire. They say they're not aware of any others, though. When asked if these individuals carrying weapons jeopardize the president's safety, they say of course not, adding that they could never have gotten close enough to the president to put him in any jeopardy. So here's the question. Should people who are allowed to carry guns be permitted near the president? Go to CNN.com/Cafferty file and post a comment on my blog. Here's the hint. No.
Those assault weapons, as you know, Jack, they have a pretty long range. You can fire them at a distance, and those rounds, they go pretty far.
They go pretty far, and you can fire them fully automatic, which means they can squeeze off a whole bunch of shots in a very short period of time. And the concern that I expressed yesterday when we ran this tape the first time was, what if some Looney Tune in the crowd spots one of these weapons and decides to take it away from this guy? Not unheard of. It's possible. And then what kind of, even if the president's not in danger, what kind of other tragedy might ensue from something like that? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Jack Cafferty, thanks very much. Get ready. You're going to be getting a lot of email right now. Under fire in Afghanistan.
I think that they just blew it on that. They really, you know, what's an analogy? You know, they just blew it on that one because they thought that they could they could go after Kostrick really easy because he was a white guy. They could say racism, blah blah blah, and then they thought, I guess they thought they had another thing they could add on to it by hiding my face, but it's like, what are you thinking? I mean, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. It's not going to be. You're not going to be able to pull that.
You're not going to be able to like hide it.
You're not going to be able to hide it for long. It's like, what were you thinking? You really thought you were going to get away with that? It's so funny.
What do you think would be their motivating factor in trying to hide that?
Well, obviously they want to just smear. They want to smear the whole patriot movement and make it appear like
that we're all a bunch of white racists, right?
Anytime, the race card. People use the race card wherever they can use it, and so obviously they wanted to do that. And the way they shot themselves in the foot was just legendary.
And you didn't even have to pull the trigger either.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
In recent decades, worldwide social change has experienced unprecedented historical acceleration, particularly because instant mass communications, such as radio, television, and the internet, cumulatively have been stimulating a universal awakening of mass political consciousness. The resulting widespread rise in worldwide populist activism is proving inimical to external domination of the kind that prevailed in the age of colonialism and imperialism. Persistent and highly motivated populist resistance of politically awakened and historically resentful peoples to external control has proven to be increasingly difficult to suppress, as protracted guerrilla warfares in Vietnam, Algeria, or Afghanistan have amply demonstrated, and as the rising turmoil in both the Middle East and Southwest Asia are foreshadowing.
Complacency betrays us, liars. Congress now enslaves us, fascists. It's what we are now. Do you really think you're free? Power, they can't live and let us be. Terror, it's the tactic that they deceive us. They have destroyed